Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a really intense chapter in American history, McCarthyism.
Yeah, it's a period that still resonates, I think.
Definitely. We're going to try and unpack what it was all about, focusing on its main characteristics. So let's get right to it.
Sounds good. It's
Yeah.
fascinating, really, how specific circumstances kind of created this atmosphere where fear and suspicion just took
Mm.
hold across the country.
Right. Understanding those core elements is key.
Hmm.
So to kick things off, maybe we should just clarify the Cold War. It's a term everyone's heard, but
Good starting point, yeah.
simply put, after World War II, you've got the U.S. and the Soviet Union as the two big superpowers.
Right. The big two,
And they had totally different ideas about how the world should work. Democracy versus communism.
a fundamental clash.
And they were constantly competing, right? But crucially, it was cold because they didn't directly fight each other in a massive shooting war.
Exactly. No direct large-scale combat between them. But the tension was always there. The threat, it was ideological, economic proxy wars.
Yeah, that underlying tension, that feeling that conflict could break out, that's really important here, isn't it?
Absolutely critical, because that constant Cold War tension created this deep unease inside the United States.
It's like a background hum of anxiety.
Precisely. This idea of communism spreading globally, well, it naturally led to worries. Could it be taking root here, at home?
And that fear became a really powerful driver for what we now call McCarthyism.
Exactly. It fueled the whole thing.
And you can see how this fear shaped perceptions. Take the Rosenbergs, for example, Julius and Ethel
A
Rosenberg.
very famous and tragic case.
American citizens accused of spying for the Soviets. The really explosive charge was giving away secrets about the atomic bomb.
The ultimate secret at the time.
They were convicted, executed. It was incredibly controversial. Still is, really. People debate their guilt, the fairness of the trial.
And what's key with the Rosenbergs, beyond the specific charges, is how it tapped into those anxieties we mentioned.
Right.
The A-bomb was terrifying. The thought its secrets might be in Soviet hands, that just amplified the fear of, internal enemies, spies among us.
Another name that always comes up in this context is Alger Hiss.
High-level official.
Yeah, State Department guy, accused in the late 40s of being a Soviet spy.
He always denied it, vehemently.
He did, but he was convicted of perjury in 1950, lying under oath. Not espionage, technically, but perjury.
And that distinction often gets lost, but the impact was huge.
Huge. It fueled those suspicions that communists had infiltrated the government, right at the top. Even if not spying, the lying itself seemed damning to many.
The Hiss case was politically explosive.
Yeah.
It fed this narrative of hidden disloyalty within the government, a narrative that certain figures would later really capitalize on.
So the government tries to respond to these fears. President Truman creates the Loyalty Review Board.
Right, an attempt to sort of vet federal employees.
Yeah, basically to investigate government workers. Are they loyal? Are they communists? Are they a security risk?
The intention, ostensibly, was national security.
But you can imagine, tons of people investigated. Some lost their jobs based just on suspicion, maybe not even solid proof.
And that's where it gets tricky, isn't it? That balance between security and individual rights.
Definitely.
The standards for disloyalty could be pretty vague. In that climate of intense suspicion, it could lead to, unfair outcomes.
Then you had HUAC, the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Ah, yes, HUAC. Very prominent.
A committee in Congress investigating suspected communist activity. They really ramped up in the late 40s, early 50s, held lots of hearings.
And they didn't just focus on government, did they?
Exactly. That's a key point. They famously went after Hollywood.
Which is fascinating, right?
Well, why Hollywood?
Well, what do you think? Influence. Yeah, I think that's it. Fear about the power of culture. Movies. Media shaping public opinion. The worry wasn't just about spies passing secrets, but about ideas. Communist ideas may be subtly influencing Americans through films.
It was about controlling the narrative in a way.
You could say that, yeah.
And those HUAC investigations, especially in Hollywood, led directly to blacklists.
A really dark aspect of this era.
Just lists of people denied work. Why?
Yeah.
Because they were suspected of communist ties, or maybe just sympathies.
Often without any real due process.
These lists circulated, especially in the entertainment industry. Get your name on one, your career could be over. Just like that, even if the accusation was totally baseless.
It's hard to overstate the damage. The blacklists were devastating.
Yeah.
Lives ruined, reputations destroyed, all based on association or suspicion.
The chilling effect must have been immense.
Oh, absolutely. Beyond just lost jobs, it stifled creativity. People became afraid to say anything slightly unconventional, didn't they?
For sure. And one of the most famous examples of this was the Hollywood 10.
Mm-hmm. Screenwriters, directors, producers.
Called before HUAC. They refused to answer questions about their politics, their alleged communist links. Often cited the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of association.
A principled stand, many argued.
But the result? Blacklisted by the studios. Their careers took a massive hit. Some never recovered.
The Hollywood 10 became this symbol, really, resistance against HUAC's methods. But it also showed the power the committee and the studios wielded. It highlights that tension again. National security versus basic freedoms.
Okay, so we can't talk about this era without talking about the man whose name became synonymous with it. Joseph McCarthy.
Senator McCarthy, the central figure in many ways.
A Republican senator. He becomes the face of this whole anti-communist crusade.
He certainly knew how to get attention.
He made countless public accusations, claimed communists and spies were all through the U.S. government, often, crucially, with little or no real evidence.
That was his trademark, wasn't it? The unsubstantiated accusation, the attack on character.
Exactly. And those tactics, the baseless accusations, the character assassination, their whole approach became known as McCarthyism. What made him so effective, do you think? Why did people listen?
Well, timing is part of it.
Yeah.
He tapped right into those existing Cold War fears we talked about.
Right. The anxiety was already there.
People wanted someone to identify the supposed enemy within. And McCarthy was forceful, dramatic. He made these bold claims, evidence or not, and it resonated with a public deeply worried about communism.
He gave simple answers to complex fears, maybe.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
And this pressure wasn't just in government or Hollywood. It spread. You started seeing loyalty oaths.
Everywhere, it seemed. Government agencies, universities, even some private companies.
Basically, you had to sign something swearing you weren't a communist, didn't support overthrowing the government.
Refused to sign.
Instant suspicion. Could cost you your job.
It shows how pervasive the climate became, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This pressure to conform, to publicly declare your loyalty, any dissent, any slightly different view could be twisted into looking disloyal, subversive even.
It really narrowed the acceptable range of political thought. But eventually, the tide did begin to turn against McCarthy himself. A really key moment was the Army McCarthy hearings in 1954.
Ah, yes. The televised hearings. A game changer.
McCarthy accused the U.S. Army of being soft on communism, even infiltrated.
Going after the Army was maybe a step too far for many.
And crucially, these hearings were broadcast on television. Millions watch.
For the first time, a huge audience saw McCarthy's tactics up close. His aggression, his bullying style.
Yeah, interrupting witnesses, making accusations. It wasn't a good look, was it? Especially against respected Army figures.
Not at all. That public exposure was critical. Seeing it firsthand, day after day, it really eroded his support. People saw the often baseless nature of his attacks, his disregard for fairness.
And the famous line from the Army's lawyer, Joseph Welch. "Have you no sense of decency, sir?" That seemed to capture the mood shift.
It really did. A pivotal moment. It led to his decline, and eventually the Senate formally censured him. A strong condemnation from his colleagues.
So, okay, we've walked through a lot of these elements. If we pull it all together, what are the main characteristics? What defines McCarthyism?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's that intense, widespread suspicion of communist influence. A suspicion that often went way beyond actual evidence.
Right. Fear driving it.
Absolutely. Second, the use of unsubstantiated accusations. McCarthy was the master, but it was a broader tactic, relying on insinuation, character attacks, not proof.
And those accusations had real teeth because of things like the blacklists. That's another key feature.
Definitely. Denying employment, ruining careers based on suspicion or association, particularly in places like Hollywood.
Then there's the pressure to conform, symbolized by the loyalty oaths.
Yes, that demand for public declarations of allegiance, creating an atmosphere where dissent was dangerous.
And the government's own role can't be ignored, right? The investigations by bodies like the Loyalty Review Board and HUAC.
Exactly. Government power being used, sometimes targeting people based on political beliefs or flimsy evidence.
And underlying all this, a real erosion of civil liberties.
That's maybe the most crucial takeaway. Freedom of speech, freedom of association, the presumption of innocence. These fundamental rights were often casualties of the era's fear.
So it was this perfect storm almost. Cold War anxiety meets political opportunism meets public fear.
And the result was a period where, yeah, individual freedoms were often sacrificed, supposedly for national security. But the methods used often went way beyond legitimate security concerns.
leading to the persecution of innocent people.
Tragically, yes. The Army McCarthy hearings helped expose the worst of it, thankfully, and contributed to the decline of McCarthy's direct influence. But the damage was done.
Okay, so to wrap it up then. McCarthyism. An intense period fueled by Cold War fear of communism, characterized by unsubstantiated accusations, blacklisting ruining lives, loyalty oaths demanding conformity, and government investigations often trampling on rights. While rooted in some genuine security concerns, it frequently violated civil liberties and targeted people unfairly. The televised Army McCarthy hearings were a turning point, exposing the harsh tactics and leading to McCarthy's censure. It really stands as a stark reminder, doesn't it, about the dangers of fear, the importance of evidence, and why protecting fundamental freedoms is so vital.
Couldn't agree more. It raises timeless questions about that balance between security and liberty, and what happens when fear takes the wheel.
Definitely something to keep thinking about. Now, as you reflect on our deep dive today, here are a few questions to mull over. Can you explain the main goal of the Loyalty Review Board?
What was the significance of HUAC's investigations in Hollywood?
In your own words, describe Senator Joseph McCarthy's role during this period.
What impact did Blacklist have on the lives and careers of suspected communists?
And finally, how did the Army McCarthy hearings contribute to the end of McCarthyism?
Chew on those. Join us next time for another deep dive.